We are on day 17 of our trip from sea to shining sea. We've been traveling the Lincoln Highway in this middle portion of the trip. Yesterday we were in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and today have made our way to the western part of the state. Now, imagine it's the 1860s and you are traveling west. The Transcontinental Railroad has not come through here yet, and the form of public transportation that you have to use is the stagecoach. Well, the spot where we are standing at right now is one of the stations where you would have stopped as you were making your way to the west. Before Interstate 80 and the Lincoln Highway and the Transcontinental Railroad, the route that went through here was the Overland Trail. And on the Overland Trail, you had the Overland Stage. So yesterday, when we were in Cheyenne, we were talking about the origins of the name stagecoach. So this is a horse-drawn coach that would go from one spot to another, okay? And in these intermittent spots where you would stop, you're basically traveling in stages, hence the name stagecoach. So these stagecoaches would go about 5 to 7 miles an hour. It's gonna be a rough ride, okay? It's gonna be hot and dusty. It's not going to be the comfort that we are traveling in today, for sure. And here at the Point of Rocks stage station, well, this is one spot where travelers could stop. They could rest the horses, or they could swap out teams. Travelers could get out and stretch for a little bit. You would have these stages, every 10 to 15 miles, possibly. And then every once in a while, well, you would have a larger one, like here at the Point of Rocks station. Okay, so here they have a few information panels and little things where you can learn a little bit more about the Point of Rocks stage station. And then up here is another abandoned structure. Looks to be a little bit more dilapidated, and it's possible that there could have been some restoration work done on some of these at some point. I'll have to just do a little research. We're just kind of stopping along the road here and giving this a look. Yeah, interesting to think about, as we are traveling down the road, all of the different people who have traveled this same route over the years in different forms. Some of them, like the Mormons, pulling hand carts. Some of them in covered wagons, stagecoaches, trains, and then modern automobiles like what we have today. Yeah, interesting spot. All right, we might take a little bit of a diversionary path off of the Lincoln Highway this morning before we get to our main history site. On this trip, we've been spending a lot of time on asphalt and concrete, and I was needing to find myself a dirt road to get on for just a little bit. So right now, we are up on top of this big old plateau. Getting up here was kind of interesting. I kind of took a road that I don't think I was supposed to take, and almost got stuck. It got a little bit wild, and came back down the mountain. Anyway, found a better route up here to where I am. So the area that we are looking at now is part of the Green River Basin. As you can see, we are way the heck up here. On a clear day, the whole expanse that we could see from here to the horizon would be bigger than the state of Massachusetts. So here you can kind of feel the bigness of the United States. If we look behind us, way off in the distance there, that is known as Pilot Butte. And then here's the dirt road that we came in on. Now, supposedly, you can take this route and see some wildlife, maybe some wild horses. I ain't seen a dang thing yet, but we're going to continue on down the road and see what we can see. All right, drove a little further down the road here along this plateau. Still no wild horses, but I know that they have to be here somewhere because I keep seeing evidence of horses up here on this high ground. Okay, no wild horses yet, but I did just lay eyes on a few antelope, including a young one out there. We got a few more over here. So we got a little bit of wildlife going on today. Just past this guy right here. Pretty good looking buck. We've just come down off of the plateau. Unfortunately, no wild horses today. So as a consolation, we're just going to have to check out these cool rock formations. Now, this little side quest has put me behind on schedule today, and there's somebody that I'm supposed to be picking up at the Salt Lake City airport. So our main history destination, hopefully it doesn't get cut too short, but we may have to be pretty quick, which means that I need to quit playing around here and get on the road. Well, our trip down the Lincoln Highway has brought us to the place where I am right now. We are at Fort Bridger, which is named after probably one of the most legendary quintessential mountain men in American history, Jim Bridger. So Jim Bridger was born in 1804 at the age of 18. He is going to be part of this fur trapping expedition that's going to go up the Missouri River. Also on that excursion is going to be Jedediah Smith and Hugh Glass. The movie The Revenant is loosely based on that experience. He is going to really become one of the most well-known explorers and guides in American history. He's thought to be the first Anglo-American to see the Great Salt Lake. And in the early 1840s, well, he's going to decide to settle down a little bit and establish an outpost and fort right here where I am right now. We're just on the outside of the fort here, and here they have this monument. Now, I don't know when this went up, but it says Fort Bridger, established 1858 as a military post, also Pony Express station, and on the old Oregon Trail. And then there's also, this just caught my eye as I was standing here. Looks like something, it says something Cart Military Road, 1881 to 1884. Yeah, so a lot of paths are going to be crisscrossing right here at Fort Bridger. In addition to being a scout, guide, fur trapper, and mountain man, Jim Bridger was also a businessman. So in the early 1840s, the fur trade was not doing so well. There had been a pretty heavy strain on the beaver population and the fur population, and Bridger was kind of wanting to settle down a little bit. So in 1842, I believe, maybe 1843, so early 1840s. He and his partner, a guy by the name of Louis Vasquez, are going to establish this fort. At first, it's just two double log houses that were about 40 feet long and a blacksmith shop. Now, this site was picked for a reason. Very strategic location. So this is where the California Trail is going to come through. This is where the Oregon Trail is going to come through. Later, the Mormon Trail and the Pony Express is going to come right through here. Bridger was a smart guy. It was said that he could speak 6 or 7 different languages: French, Spanish, English, several Indian languages, and also seemed to have like a photographic memory. And anywhere he went, like he could tell you how to get there and how to navigate. So setting up a post here, if you were traveling out west in one of these Conestoga wagons, well, let's say you need resupplied, or let's say something on your wagon is broken. Being right here in this spot is very, very smart, just like setting up a garage, an auto repair garage on the interstate, or setting up a restaurant or something like that along major travel routes. So yeah, this is where Bridger's trading post is going to have its roots. If you would have been one of these migrants on the Oregon Trail or the California Trail or any of these other westward routes, and you came to Fort Bridger, when you rolled up, you would have seen something very much like this. Now, what we are looking at is a replica of Fort Bridger. I'll explain why we don't have the original here in just a moment. But in short, it's just a couple of very, very simple buildings in the original fort. So right here, this duplex looking thing that we are looking at, this is where Vasquez and his family would have lived there on the left, and then Bridger and his family would have been on the right-hand side. And then you would have also had a blacksmith shop. Okay, so inside the blacksmith shop, there's going to be a forge, and there's going to be an anvil, and there's going to be all the materials that you need to build things and make repairs if necessary. Now, the reason that we don't have the original is because there was some tension that developed in the early 1850s. So the Mormons are going to originally arrive out here to Fort Bridger in July of 1847, are going to spend some time here, and they're going to find Bridger's prices to be a little bit high. But anyway, tension is going to really ramp up between Bridger and the Mormon leaders. Brigham Young, who was the leader of the Mormons coming out here, was acting as a federal Indian agent, and in 1853 is going to accuse Bridger of selling alcohol and weapons to the local Native American tribes. Settlers who rolled up to this location, it would have been very, very common to see Shoshone and Ute and other Indian lodges here, because they were also trading with settlers who were coming through here. Well, long story short, the Mormons ended up running Bridger out and occupying the fort from 1853 to 1857. And then later in 1857, we're going to have the Mormon Wars. So Buchanan is going to send federal troops out here under the leadership of Albert Sidney Johnston. And as the Mormons were withdrawing, they burned down Fort Bridger in order to deny U.S. troops any winter quarters. Amid the escalating tensions between Bridger and Brigham Young and the Mormons, the decision is made to sell Fort Bridger to the Mormons for a sum of $8,000. And in order to better defend this fort, the Mormons ended up building a 15-foot cobblestone wall all around the fort. So this is going to turn this into a pretty significant stronghold. But again, like I said, U.S. government under Buchanan is going to send federal troops under Albert Sidney Johnston out here, and the Mormons, once they see that there's 2,500 troops heading out here and they've got pretty solid artillery, end up burning this place down. But we do have some remains of the wall today. In 1858, the Army is going to rebuild and actually expand the fort here at Fort Bridger. And this is going to become like a big military reservation. So it's going to be a supply depot. It's going to be a military post. It's going to provide protection for travelers on the Overland Trail and the Pony Express. The stage lines that come through here are going to have support coming out of this fort. When the Transcontinental Railroad comes through here, it's going to provide support for the railroad construction workers and the miners. This is also going to serve as a base in the oncoming Native American conflicts. So what we are looking at here is the oldest surviving structure on the fort. This was built in 1858 and is the officers' quarters. So again, here on the site we have some structures that exist from the post-Mormon War era, but a lot is gone. And one thing that they've done that I appreciate is to help us visualize where everything would have been in the 1860s all the way up into the 1890s. They have these signs and then these logs on the ground to show us where different structures would have been. So back there would have been the blacksmith shop, and right through here, well, this is where the infantry barracks would have been. Looking at the new guardhouse, and right out here chirping in front of the thing is the guard of the new guardhouse. They got a prairie dog watching over the entrance here. Well, that old boy looks mean. When Albert Sidney Johnston and the U.S. Army comes out here in 1857, with them is a couple named William and Mary Carter. They're civilians, and they are going to set up a pretty thriving business here right next to the fort. So the buildings that we are looking at here are original to that time period. So there would have been a sutler store, there would have been a telegraph station, there would have been an ice house back over here. There would have been a place where people could, put their horses up for the night. We're looking at a milk house right here. And also, well, William Carter is going to set up the very first schoolhouse in Wyoming. This is going to go up in 1860 and was built for his 6 children and the other kids who were here at the fort. Yeah, all very interesting. Okay, well, that was a little bit from right here at Fort Bridger. If you don't know much about Jim Bridger, I would really encourage you to do some research on him because he is a fascinating individual. Now, let me tell you what else has been going on while we have been here. I have been on the phone off and on with my son, who I was supposed to be picking up at the Salt Lake City airport. His flight got canceled for routine maintenance, and we are in the middle of a big mess. So I'm going to shut this down, and I'll see you tomorrow somewhere in Utah.